Lake District, Mecca for poets and artists for over 200 years. Home of England's highest and most spectacular mountains, and its longest stretch of inland water, Windermere. Approximately 10.5 miles long, Windermere is a uniquely picturesque lake. Fringed by forests and fields, the soaring fells of the north and the gentle slopes in the south have become our favourite outdoor retreat. The lake shore is graced with numerous small inlets and bays, known as wikes. Some are secluded by woodland, others open out into gently sloping meadows. Each has its own individual character and charm. Out on the water, the steamers and launches offer a relaxed and leisurely opportunity to enjoy new aspects of the lake and its shores. What better way to discover Windermere than from aboard one of these magnificent vessels? Whatever the season, there is always something new to see and enjoy. The complex network of journeys available on the boats means they are increasingly being used as public transport, providing flexible access to the more remote shores. The boats offer an original starting point for that most popular Lake District activity, walking. Nestling at the northern head of Windermere lies Ambleside. This is the starting point for many people visiting and exploring the lakes. And it is from here that we will begin our own journey of discovery. The peaks of the Lake District have not always looked like this. Once these dramatic soaring fells were almost totally hidden under a thick covering of trees. But man has been here for a long time. High above Ambleside in the Langdale Pikes, the remains of a stone axe factory date back to 4000 BC. Man began to make a real impact on the scenery around 2000 BC, when trees were felled and ground cleared, creating much of the scenery as we see it today. Evidence of a Roman fort and settlement can still be seen at Galava, in the meadowland we now call Waterhead. The area even survived and prospered under Viking invasion, the Vikings leaving their distinctive cultural stamp on local place names. Thwaite indicates a cleared woodland, as at Finsthwaite and Applethwaite. Fells and becks refer to mountains and streams. Islands are called homes. And mere is a stretch of water, hence the name, Windermere. Settled by Romans and Vikings, Ambleside is familiar today for the heritage left by its more recent inhabitants. Some of the 19th century's more notable people lived in Ambleside and Grasmere. Harriet Martineau, the celebrated writer, lived here. Although perhaps best known for writing enormously popular guidebooks to the lakes, she was also something of a reformer and the founder of the first Northern Building Society. Charlotte Mason, a great educational thinker, founded the Parents' National Educational Union with its own school and a teacher training college for girls. Visitors have been coming here for over 200 years. Some are seeking to rediscover that magical lakeland described by Wordsworth and the lake poets. Others come to enjoy more strenuous challenges. From Ambleside's picturesque heart, you can walk directly up to the surrounding hills. Fairly easy to reach and well worth a visit, are Stockgill Falls. Of course, water plays an immensely important part in the enjoyment of the Lake District. To discover the delights of Windermere, we begin our journey at Waterhead Pier. Traditional Windermere launches, Queen of the Lake and Princess of the Lake, were on regular passenger routes and are also popular charter vessels. The traditional launch cruise gives a delightful 40-minute tour around the northern end of Windermere. Passing the meadows of Galava, you come to the quiet bay where the River Brathay runs into the lake. Brathay Hall was built in 1788 by Mr. Law of Old Brathay. This Georgian mansion is one of many fine homes built around the lake as Windermere's popularity began to rise. The first port of call is Ray Castle. Begun in 1840 and completed in 1847, it was built to resemble a medieval fortress. Its Victorian Gothic architecture looks distinctly odd on the gentle slopes of Wat Barrow Point. The gardens, which are open to the public, are noted for their fine collection of foreign trees. If you want to get off and explore, you can disembark at Ray Boathouse. This useful cross-lake service allows walkers an opportunity to enjoy one of several lakeside walks. From Ray Castle, there is a lovely peaceful walk following the undeveloped western shore along shady paths and tracks. The quiet character of this side of Windermere is in sharp contrast to the more accessible and developed eastern shores. Much of this land is owned by the National Trust and is safe from any future development. When you reach Ferry House, one of the regular sailings will return you to either Waterhead Pier at Ambleside or Bowness. Back at Ray, the launch moves on southwards before turning across the lake towards the site of the old common mill at Miller Ground. The mill was established here in the Middle Ages. A single bell housed in the belfry on the gable end was tolled to summons the small ferry. On reaching the western shore, passengers could travel along the rough bridleway to Latterbarrow, near Sorey and Hawkshead. Arriving at the jetty at Brockhole, you may break your journey to call in at the Lake District Visitor Centre. Brockhole was originally built as a lakeside mansion for a Manchester businessman. The magnificent grounds were laid out by Thomas Mawson, a landscape gardener from Windermere. It became a convalescent home in 1945 and was bought by the National Park in 1966. A walk through the terraced gardens brings you to a host of attractions for all ages. The latest interactive exhibitions introduce the Lake District as a diverse area with a special culture, environment and community. Two further interactive exhibitions look at how it is everyone's responsibility to help look after this national park. Views of the Langdales are enjoyed by those taking tea on the terrace. Parents and children soon discover the adventure playground. The gardens invite a gentle stroll along peaceful terraces before moving on to discover more of the lake's treasures. So it's back on the launch to cruise northwards up the lake to the spectacular vision of Ambleside, cradled in the shadow of the mountains. Steamers calling regularly at Ambleside offer an opportunity to explore other areas of Windermere. Just 5 miles south of Ambleside lies Bowness. Lying approximately halfway along Windermere's length, it has developed into a much-loved touring base. The coming of the railways, and particularly the opening of a branch line from Oxenholme to Windermere Station in 1847, brought a new kind of prosperity to this tiny fishing village. The expansion of Bowness from the 1870s onwards was largely engineered by a speculative building programme launched by furnace industrialist H.W. Schneider. Schneider owned iron mines in Low Furness and was a director of the Furness Railway Company. It is said that each morning he walked down to the pier from his home at what is now the Bellsfield Hotel, preceded by his butler carrying breakfast. After boarding his steam yacht, the Esperance, he travelled down the lake to the lakeside terminus, breakfasting on the way. Meeting his own private train, he then continued on to his office in Barrow. Today, Bowness offers a host of ideas worthy of investigation, not least of which is following the trail of the Lake District's world-famous resident, Beatrix Potter. 2 minutes' walk away from the Bowness Pier is the World of Beatrix Potter exhibition. This enchanting exhibition reintroduces the visitor to well-loved childhood memories. Enter the world of Peter Rabbit, Mrs. Tiggywinkle, Jeremy Fisher, and the rest of Beatrix Potter's delightful animal characters. Take a look into the fascinating life of the talented Victorian writer, illustrator, farmer, and early conservationist, whose children's books are now popular worldwide. The centenary clock was produced as a celebration of Peter Rabbit's 100th year in print. Made in the style of the animatronics so loved in Beatrix Potter's childhood, the characters take on their own magic circular voyage every 30 minutes. You can make your own voyage of discovery on a boat and mountain goat bus to her home, Hilltop Farm, at near Sawrey. The boat and goat cross-lake trip leaves Bowness from Pier 3 for a journey to Sawrey and Hawkshead. The traditional wooden launches are reminiscent of a bygone age, when wealthy businessmen built the magnificent houses along the shore, and taking trips on the lake in your own personal steam launch was the height of fashion. Muriel was built in 1935. Capable of carrying 61 passengers, she usually operates the Bowness to Ferryhouse route. As you cross the lake, you pass Belle Isle. Here, just visible above the trees, is Britain's first ever round house. Thomas English built the house in 1774 to a design by John Plaw. This was the first house on Windermere to be situated and constructed entirely for aesthetic purposes. The island was originally called Longholme, but after the house and island were bought by Isabella Curwen of Workington Hall in 1781, it was renamed Belle Isle. The launch docks adjacent to Ferry House and is met by a mountain goat bus.
You want to go to Hawkshead? Okay, if you would. And you want to get off at Hilltop, do you? Okay, if you'd like to take a seat.
The journey now winds along roads familiar to Beatrix Potter, stopping at near Sawrey.
Okay, Hilltop is in here. You go to the office to get a ticket.
Careful observation in Sawrey will reveal many familiar locations used by Potter to illustrate her books. The bus moves on past the waters of Esthwaite and into Hawkshead. With its wonderful mixture of the historic and the picturesque, Hawkshead was once a thriving market town at the centre of the area's prosperous woolen industry. Its whitewashed houses, narrow cobbled streets and 15th century church have remained largely unaltered for the past 300 years. William Wordsworth and his brothers attended the old grammar school. They lodged in the village with Anne Tyson, whose influence was considerable. Her house still stands in the village today. Mountain goat buses run regularly from Hawkshead back to Ferry House to meet the Cross Lake launch. Back again in Bowness, with a little advanced planning, it is worth joining one of the weekly guided walks with a Lake District National Park leader.
Just look at those gorgeous colours. Autumn's here. Now you all know this is Windermere, the largest lake in England. Any idea how large? 10. Nearly 10.5 miles long. Now this part here is called Cockshot Point. In 1927, Beatrix Potter was approached by the National Trust to help them buy this lovely stretch of shoreline.
Many of these walks include boat trips to their starting point. Bookings can be made from Bowness Bay Tourist Information Office. Continuing on our journey of exploration, the southerly reaches of Windermere present altogether softer scenery. The lake is flanked by low fells, mostly below 800 feet, with only Gummer's How topping the 1,000-foot mark. From this spectacular vantage point, the entire lake can be seen in all its splendour. Travelling in style to the southern end of the lake on one of the steamers is an altogether more relaxed experience. You can't miss Stawell's Hall. This elegant neoclassical building was built for Sir John Ledyard in 1790. The small summer house at the end of the stone jetty, known as the Temple of Heroes, commemorates those who died in the Napoleonic Wars. There is clear evidence of the luxury of a bygone age in the houses dotted along the shore. Many of the lush green plantations on the southwest shores have been in evidence since the 17th century, when they were planted for both aesthetic and commercial purposes. The quiet waters attract yachtsmen and sailing dinghies. Lakeside is the traditional home of the steamers. In recent years, major restoration work has transformed this railway terminus for the Lakeside and Haverthwaite Railway. It's a peaceful place to rest a while and take time out to absorb an old world tranquility. From this vantage point, you can watch the graceful manoeuvrings of the magnificent steamers. The Teal was launched in 1936 for the London Midland Scottish Railway. Built by Vickers Armstrong at Barrow-in-Furness, she was taken to Lakeside in numbered sections and reassembled there. A sister ship, the Swan, was constructed in a similar manner 2 years later in 1938. The recently refurbished Tern was constructed in Wivenhoe, Essex for the Furness Railway Company. She was taken to Lakeside by rail in numbered sections, reassembled there and launched in June 1891. Today, carefully restored and refurbished to provide spacious modern luxury cruising facilities, she still carries her 350 passengers with all the elegance and style of her youth. Chartering a steamer is becoming a popular option for entertaining and corporate events. Evening cruises and the special jazz nights offer a new perspective. The boats offer great flexibility and many different choices. For a day out to remember, the 24-hour Freedom of the Lake ticket allows unlimited travel on all scheduled services. Take the little ferry boat from Lakeside across the lake to Felfoot to potter about in this carefully recreated Victorian garden. The enchanting Islands cruise, starting from Bowness, takes in the many homes or islands scattered across the central section of the lake. Hikers use the ferry service from Bowness or the hourly launch service between Ambleside and Brockhole. Whichever pier you sail from, the voyage gives the traveller spectacular views of the magnificent mountain scenery, peaceful shores and tranquil waters of Windermere. Lakeside Pier has become a focal point for education and exploration. The Aquarium of the Lakes introduces the area's natural history, following the course of water from source to sea. The river story begins high in the mountains, where rainwater starts its long journey to the sea. Natural springs carve a living path through the stones and peat. Hanging valleys created by glacial erosion can result in spectacular waterfalls. On the lower slopes of the mountains, becks swelled by rain gather together to empty into the deep waters of Windermere. The lake teems with life. Pochard and tufted ducks feed on the lake bed. Windermere fish stocks include trout, perch, pike and migrating salmon. For centuries, abundant fish stocks attracted otters, which played happily on our riverbanks. Otters feed mainly on fish, which they carry ashore to eat. They also take frogs and small birds. Here we see a pair of short-clawed otters in their own riverside holt. Otters have a highly developed sense of play and astonishing manual dexterity. Although still rarely seen in the wild, the introduction of laws to protect the otter has led to them making something of a comeback in northern Cumbria. The river slows and finally widens out into the Morecambe Bay sand flats. Among the rocks and pools along the shore live many kinds of colourful fish and crustaceans. Along the estuary, where the river finally flows into the sea, we find the thornback ray and the faintly menacing smooth-hound shark. Here, as the waters of river and sea mingle, the watery journey ends, and we leave the sea to return to the shores of Windermere. The pier at Lakeside provides a starting point for other sorts of exploration. Here is the terminus for the Lakeside and Haverthwaite Steam Railway. Special reduced combined tickets can be bought to allow you to enjoy a memorable trip into the past by boat and train. This picturesque section of the old Furness railway line runs for 3.5 miles along the beautiful Leven Valley to Haverthwaite Station. Engine sheds at Haverthwaite offer an Aladdin's cave of delights for steam buffs and children alike. Then it's back again. Starting from Lakeside, it is possible to combine the use of boats and the train to access and explore the hidden beauty spots around the southern tip of Windermere. From Lakeside, walk through the woods and fields to Finswaite and on up to High Dam. Taking a detour to Stott Park Bobbin Mill brings to life the impact the Industrial Revolution had on the region. The new trains and canals opened up a link between the busy textile industries in nearby Lancashire and Yorkshire. Hundreds of acres of woodland were coppiced and turned into bobbins to feed an insatiable market. High Dam was built to provide a powerful head of water to drive the lathes in the bobbin mill. Later, water was replaced by the more reliable steam engine. Come back down to Newby Bridge and return to Lakeside on the steam railway. This walk and others are detailed in the book Discovery Walks Around Windermere, available from Windermere Lake Cruises. Windermere is beautiful. This magical 10.5 miles of water is an open highway to the many treasures of the area. It's a source of education, entertainment, and fun. And thanks to the boats, it is accessible to everyone.